Vasquez.
If you aren't outside listening to us right now, or roll your windows down, open the windows in your house. It is gorgeous, and I don't know how many more days. Yes? Am I not? What? Up? Turn it up right there. Am I not loud enough? I hope that you have a chance to go outside, is what I'm saying, because it is stunningly gorgeous in Chicago, and I don't know if we're going to have another one like it. I hate to say that, but then it's that urgency of enjoying it. That's what I'm trying to share with you, is my sense that I think this is it. And I hope that you had a chance to look at the sunset yesterday. I don't know what today's look like, so if you have great photos of that, please don't hesitate to share those with us on our Facebook page. You can go to WCPT's Facebook page, subscribe to our page, like our page, so you can get alerts for whenever we go live, when we have great conversations, which happens every single day. Right now, we have our friends watching on the live stream, and perhaps you want to give us a call or message us there. Don't forget, you can also subscribe to our YouTube page, where we have great videos and conversations as well. Our number is 773-763-9278. That's 773-763-WCPT. That number works to call or text us. We always love to hear your voices, but we understand when you have the need to message us instead. And I don't know what, I really haven't decided what to lock into. I feel like so many things have happened since we last spoke. The infrastructure bill, which is exciting, and what is it, 1.7 trillion? I've got to find that number. I'm excited that it went through. I know that there's a lot of disappointment on certain things that were cut. Some people have talked about how, well, don't let the perfect be the obstacle to getting something done. But, where were the people who were killing things? That it wasn't even just to be perfect, it was to do the right thing. And that's what we need to keep doing. We already have a call. I love when I show up and there's already a phone call on hold. I'm like, we haven't even started talking. And Brian's like, I've got something to say. Hey, Brian, how are you doing?
Fine, thank you. How are you, Patty?
I'm in a good mood because it's glorious outside, and I hope I can hang on to this attitude when it's disgusting outside.
Well, first of all, I just want to mention a great song by Carlos Santana from 1999 Supernatural album. Important song, beautiful song, Maria, Maria. Have you ever heard that?
No, but you are not allowed to read the lyrics. I got in trouble last time, Brian.
I know. What?
I got in trouble last time. They were like, I don't even know if we have licensing for that kind of action. But so
okay.
Maria,
well, then
Maria.
Uh-huh. And okay, I'll get on with it. My main reason for calling.
Sure.
Abigail. Way back in the day, Abigail Adams said, if particular care and attention is not paid to women, we are determined to foment a rebellion and will not hold ourselves bound by any laws in which we have no voice. And then John Adams said about women, their delicacy renders them unfit for practice and experience in the great business of life. And then I have an article from, I'm not going to read the whole thing, obviously, from, let me take my glasses off here. Newsweek, January 21st, 1980. Anyone can look it up. It's a book review. A woman before her time, Elizabeth Cady Stanton.
Oh, yes.
Was in the 1800s.
Mm-hmm.
And when she married the renowned abolitionist Henry Brewster Stanton in 1840, she had their minister omit the promise to obey, and she believed that there should be combined rule of men and women, spoke out for divorce, birth control, and a woman's right to be absolutely sovereign over her own body. This was in the 1800s, and since women lived in constant fear of rape, she said they should buy huge Newfoundland dogs and should should learn to use guns. And then I have from the Chicago Sun-Times, 4/20/1992. quote, more sexual attacks lead to 7.9% increase in U.S. violent crimes, an estimated 59% surge in rapes and attempted rapes, according to the Justice Department over the last year. A 59% increase of rapes and attempted rapes over the last year. That was at the time of President at the time, George Herbert Walker Bush, who was too busying himself with launching illegal wars of aggression, according to Nuremberg, against other countries, and too busy with his own reelection to ever even speak of this. And then today we have the Violence Against Women's Act, should have been enacted already. And that's Joe Biden's own legislation. I understand it's still being blocked by right-wing extremists in Senate, Republican-controlled Senate. So
I have to say, Brian, one of the things that I am aware of more than ever before are conversations about how we keep telling women that they shouldn't wear certain types of clothing because they'll attract attention. There are schools where if a girl's wearing a tank top or a skirt that's too short, they're told that they'll distract the boys, or they're bringing it on themselves. And it goes to that same idea of women who are attacked sexually with sexual violence, whether it's rape or groping or simple battery. They're often asked, well, what were you wearing? What were you doing? What was the circumstances, rather than telling boys, don't touch women. This is the thing about being a human being, is that we part of what makes our society function is that we go against what our instincts are. We that's the whole purpose of having a set of rules, our Constitution, our laws, and look, those are all, they should all be fluid. We need to keep having conversations and changing them, adapting them as we progress into the modern age. But what continues is this idea that women are there for the pleasure of men. And that happens. I don't know if you read the article last week in the Chicago Tribune about women in broadcasting. So from my own personal experience, and I am referenced in that piece, the idea that a boss should be able to kiss you and rub your shoulders and touch you in places that you don't find acceptable, and other people will write it off. I mean, like, other women even will write it off and say that we misinterpret that. I assure you, I have never misinterpreted my boss putting his hand on me and calling me effing hot, smoking hot, and that I would cost him a lot in his divorce. I assure you. But these are the things that other people will go, oh, well, they're from a different age, and but then what about the boys now? What about the Chicago Park District, where we see that there are people in positions of management who are assaulting girls that are working for them? So it isn't someone from a previous age. It's that we're in spaces where men feel entitled to treat us a different way, and often women are not our allies. And that continues to be the case in so many different places.
Well, men like that, those type of men who you just described are, they're barbarians and they're morons, and there should be stiff criminal penalties against them, and really this Violence Against Women's Act really needs to get through, and also we now have the situation where if the trends continue, the way they are now on the abortion issue, I'm pro-choice, but I can almost guarantee you that they're going to make abortion completely illegal under any circumstances, like they have in the country of El Salvador today, the government anyway.
Right. That is a danger, right? And it's all you make a great point. It is all interconnected. A woman's agency, the ability to make choices, to be free from sexual violence, and from having other people control her decisions impacts our future. And I don't mean our future like just women's future. It does have an impact on our economy. I mean, imagine how much more fully we can participate if we aren't forced to incubate a fetus because someone has told us we must. Imagine how much more we can fully participate if we don't have to make ourselves smaller in the presence of men who have power. They are allowed to continue to make themselves live bigger. They occupy more space. Even in conference rooms, women have to feel as though they're interrupting. And if I can't tell you how many times, and Lady B will agree with this, where we try to say something, they're like, "Let me finish." We've been saying that back, and when we do, you know what they call us? You know what they call us, Brian.
Well, I'll tell you.
And it ain't bossy. I'll tell you that much. Go ahead.
There's a lot of men who just can't get it through their heads to just leave women alone. And also, I'm not at all anti-religious, but I have to say, factually, in the United States, at least the hierarchies Jimmy Carter in the year 2000 left the Southern Baptist Convention, which is, I remember, the largest flock of evangelicals, and he was with them since he was like a teenager, and he left because they no longer would allow women to be ministers, and they were saying things like, a wife under all circumstances must submit graciously to their husbands. And he left and went to a more liberal church. And I have to say, in America at least, I'm a Catholic myself, not pushing religion on anyone, but the Catholic hierarchy in America, I don't know what they call them, the bishops, whatever they call themselves, they are so conservative. They're 100% for Trump, 100% against abortion, and they even went so far as to try to get Biden not to receive communion. Did you hear about that?
Yes, I did, because of his support for women's health care. Mm-hmm.
And to his credit on this point, Pope Francis said, no, you cannot deny him communion.
Yep.
On those grounds.
Mm-hmm. I applaud the Pope for that, and many comments he has made, many stances that he has shared with his followers.
Well, I disagree with him on the abortion issue. I'm pro-choice, but just from what I heard from him, he says a lot of really good things.
I would say he while he may not support pro-choice, he has said that it doesn't need to be something that Catholics are intolerant of. That it isn't basically a top issue, and to take the foot off the gas a little bit was what I remember a few years ago, and I appreciated that. Is what I meant. Yep.
Well, I wouldn't be shocked. Some people mentioned it in the past. If there would be some kind of schism between the Catholic Church in the United States and the Catholic Church in Europe, it wouldn't shock me. I hope it doesn't happen, but it wouldn't shock me. I mean, like I'm saying, from what I hear from most of the hierarchy, they can't come out and tell you who to vote for.
Right.
But by implication, anyone could put it together. They were 100% behind Donald Trump, and then by implication, 100% against Joe Biden.
Yep.
On really important issues that I think are wonderful issues, but that's the trend, and that's going on now. And like I said, I'm not at all pushing religion on anyone or anything like that. I'm just calling it as I see it, and I think there's a whole lot of things the hierarchy in many different denominations teach that are the polar opposite of my understanding of the teachings of Jesus.
And you know what? We could have a whole hour on that. I have a good friend who can come in and talk about being a progressive and believing in the Bible. And you know what? I will schedule that pretty soon. I have my friend Elliot Serrano who can talk on this, and I think it'll be a great conversation. Thank you for reminding me, Brian. I've got to run to a break, okay?
Well, thank you so much, Patty, for taking my call, and you have a wonderful day.
Oh, you as well, my friend. Take care. When we come back, we'll take more of your calls on WCPT 820. I'm your host, and we're driving it home with Patti Vasquez. I probably should push this button. There it is.
A Better Life with Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
Need some help quitting smoking? I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, CNN's chief medical correspondent. Tens of millions of Americans still smoke, according to the CDC. And you know what? They all know smoking is bad, so you can skip that argument. Instead, support those family members and friends who are trying to quit and appreciate how hard it is. According to the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center, the average person quits 8 to 12 times before they kick the habit for good. Now, one upside to that: every time someone quits, they learn a new lesson they can apply next time. Maybe it's about how powerful their cravings are, what their triggers might be, or how big of an impact stress has on their drive to smoke. Help them focus their efforts on a reason they want to quit, and make sure they know about the CDC's free tobacco cessation hotline, which is 1-800-QUIT-NOW. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, helping you live a better life.
At Napa, we keep things moving. If it has wheels and an engine, we help keep it on the road. And if it's on the road, we have parts for it. And if you need a part, you can get it fast, like same-day pickup or next-day delivery fast. At Napa, when we're not thinking about cars, we're thinking about the people who drive them. Because when it comes to serving you and our community, our motor never quits. That's Napa know-how. Same-day pickup and next-day delivery available at participating stores and on in-stock items only.
Lowe's Provember event is back, and we're thanking pros like you all month long. So when you become a Pro Loyalty member, now through November 24th, you'll get a welcome kit via mail, Lowe's bucket included. It's all part of Provember, going on online and in stores. Lowe's, the new home for pros. New accounts only. More terms and conditions apply while supplies last. Visit Lowes.com/ProLoyalty for details. U.S. only.
Patti Vasquez is taking your calls now at 773-763-9278. Driving it home with Patti Vasquez now on WCPT 820.
Again, so thrilled that you're joining us and want to get to our calls because some folks have been on hold. Hey, Steve in the Gold Coast, how are you doing today?
Fine. I just want to make a couple of points. That I thought that the discussion with regard to women's reproductive rights and other issues is important, but at the same time, I think we can have those discussions without necessarily always making it political. The reality is that crime spiked in America beginning in the mid-1960s until the mid-1990s, during which we had Republican and Democratic presidents. So I don't blame George Bush Sr. for the spike in assaults against women in circa 1992. I mean, I'm sorry, that's just overly simplistic. It's also the case that, it's one of the most difficult things to gauge with regard to numbers. Things like homicides, we can gauge quite well. But sexual assaults, I mean, it's really difficult because they're so underreported.
Well, and look at Bill Clinton and, having Monica Lewinsky in his office in that position of power. I think that, right. there's only so much I can push back on. And also, there's things that you might say that someone else would call back later. I'm like, yeah, I didn't really take the chance to jump in there. So, right. Point taken, and I agree.
Yeah, and I totally understand the concerns with regard to, reproductive rights. Now, it's a huge, Grand Canyon-sized gulf between the Supreme Court, say, for instance, ruling in favor of Texas with regard to the existing law, and other states that have also imposed similar sorts of legislation that would restrict the women's rights, versus a national piece of legislation that would make a women's right to choose legal in New York and Illinois and California. That is not something anyone perceives as being a realistic outcome anytime soon. It is possible that in the near future, yes, in certain states it's going to be effectively impossible, but the idea that we're going to pass national legislation, Not likely, but
well,
again,
I would say, going back to what you mentioned about George H.W. Bush, which is that that is also when you have an acceleration of trying to get Supreme Court justices who are anti-choice, making sure that definitely,
absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely, and it's just that from a legals, it would take some real legal gymnastics to get to the point where we basically went from we can't have a federal law which relegates this back to the states, but then you're going to create a national law which would be something different. So, like I said, I think that's a Grand Canyon-sized chasm between those two. But like I said, I don't want to get too far into the woods on that one. But the other point I wanted to talk about was just the point that you raised in terms of the infrastructure legislation. I think it's a great victory. I wish that things were more shovel ready, because this is one of those things where the Republican Party does a great job of exploiting things that Democrats manage to provide for. So the GI Bill and student access to higher education. The interstate highway system. All of these things, and then you find decades after these things were implemented, Republicans running on the benefits of those things. And I think that what's going to happen is you're going to get a lot of this stuff that's going to be implemented in the years to come. And then if it happens to be benefiting us, then the Republicans are all of a sudden going to claim, if they win, say in the midterms, you see how much better the economy is doing and how much better these things are doing, and we created these jobs. Yeah, we passed the infrastructure bill that you people opposed, and now people are working. But we can't get people working tomorrow. You want to build a brand new interstate or expand an airport. Well, that's going to take years in order to get the environmental studies, the regulation, all of these sorts of things down. And then when you finally get people to work and the contracts and the bids and everything, people will be working. But if somebody else is running the country, then they'll take credit for it. And this is where Americans are just intellectually lazy, rather than, actually asking, okay, how did we get here? Well, wait a minute, this wasn't anything that you guys supported. You happen to be there, which is like saying the fire department is to blame for a fire because they happen to be there when the building is burning. No, you have to look at who was responsible for the fire, not the person sitting there at the time. So, like I said, I think we do a bad job at messaging, and we really need to get out there and let people know. It's just like I thought it was a huge mistake with regard to the post-ACA. We needed to get out there and let the American people, this is what we did for you. This is what the Democratic Party did for you. And, and everyone loves it. Nobody's talking about repealing it any longer. And, there's a reason why Republicans are even running on it. And if they could, in their wildest dreams, repeal it, they would still keep parts of it because they know that if the constituents love it, certain elements of it anyway. So, but like I said, we do a bad job of messaging, and I think the Republicans just do a better job at it than we do, and we need to, we need to overcome that.
We need to be relentless is what we need to do. They're ruthless. We need to be relentless. That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Take care. Let me get to our last call before the break. Dave, I got you in there. Hi, Dave from Hoffman Estates. How are you doing? You want to talk about the concert? Yes.
Yes, ma'am. That you're probably too young to remember this, but back in 1979, December 79, they had something eerily similar in Cincinnati that time when the Who concert, and they had a different. They did stuff with seating again, and these people came in, and there was like 11 that were trampled that time. Supposedly, and the only one that ever did something on that is, I don't know if you ever watched or were a fan of that show, WKRP in Cincinnati.
Oh, yeah. With God as my witness. With God as my witness, I thought turkeys could fly. Yeah, I know, I'm just talking about that episode. I know the show.
Yeah, that was classic, but they did one on that, about that. So for folks, tragedy there, and then at the end, it did a write-up on it saying, about what happened, and then that Cincinnati council, city council changed the rules because of that.
Well, there have been instances during my life where we have, whether it's a nightclub or a concert where there's, I think the EE2 was a riot, not a riot, but it was a rush to the doors. People felt like they were in danger, and people were trampled to death. And there was a huge fire at a concert, I want to say in 2003. Now, for those folks who don't know, there was a concert in...
They had the chain? They had that exit chain?
Yep. So this is a concert that happened in Houston, if folks haven't caught up with the news, at a Travis Scott festival, and there were 50,000 festival goers, and at some point, I mean, there was obviously in these situations, you have alcohol, you have drugs, there are charges for people who are inciting a riot, and then, of course, causing a stampede, and the loss of 8 lives and scores more who were injured as the audience was surging toward the stage, and it's horrifying.
Yeah,
I mean,
I understand. I've heard that this Scott, that in the past he's incited stuff like that just to rush the stage or whatever, go through that. Because I've heard it was like a Lollapalooza or something. Even he had done that. He's done in the past anyway. That, and apparently these people really took him for real now because it was oversold and everything. But
it's horrifying. Yep.
Yeah. Did you get that piece of mail?
I don't know. I don't think I've gotten that. Tell me what's in the article. Will you let me know?
It was just that veteran thing, and then about with Chris Murphy when I told you that.
Yeah, I've got to take a look in the mail to see if
it's yellow envelope again.
Oh. No, then I don't.
Porn. You don't got to worry about no porn like this.
No. I appreciate that. I'll take a look again and see because I.
Oh, and then you got to remember tonight. Now the people on the AM radios, the boom is going to die out about now. They got to go onto the online and listen.
Oh yeah, it's dark now, isn't it? Everybody, if you're losing the signal on your phones, online, you can follow us on Facebook, on YouTube. You can go to it's right, we're losing people. I'm fading away like I'm in Back to the Future and like my arm. I gotta go to the news. Yep. All right. Take care. All right, the traffic. All right. Take care, Dave. Appreciate that. Coming up after the traffic, we're going to check in with Senator Dan Katowski, who is now the CEO of Kids Above All. They have an incredible event coming up, and we'll tell you why it's important to support this incredible organization. More in a moment.
Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive on WCPT Willow Springs is powered by ComEd. Lower your energy bills and reduce your carbon footprint with the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago traffic update.
In on the Edens, bumper-to-bumper, Old Orchard down to the Kennedy Merge. Lake Oak Road down to the Junction 35 outbound is clear. Now the Kennedy outbound solid on the West Lake from Montrose to Sayre. 17 to the split, 19 in the Express, 38 to the airport. Inbound struggling the whole stretch. Now do keep in mind that there's new lane configuration set up from Washington to the Burn. O'Hare into downtown, an hour and 21 minutes. 52 of that alone on in from the Junction. Eisenhower either way busy. Between 390 and the Circle, 50 minutes. Outbound slammed down to 25th Avenue. On the Stevenson outbound at Central, a fender bender's blocking the left shoulder. From DuSable Lakeshore Drive on out to 355 in 51. On the Ryan out to 95th and 25, inbound at 20. That's traffic. I'm Mary DeBadges.
All too often, the media are ignoring the everyday heroics of our policemen and women. Well, that changes on News Nation. Dan Abrams and his live PD sidekick Sticks are back in prime time on Dan Abrams Live, weeknights at 8, 7 Central on News Nation.
Streaming November 14th.
This is a company town, and the business is incarceration.
A new original series from the co-creator of Yellowstone, Taylor Sheridan.
Your influence within the prisons is unique.
Jeremy Renner.
We don't break the law, we bend it.
Diane Wiest.
You fix-it men, part-time gangsters.
And Kyle Chandler.
If you want to know who's running what, come to me. I'm the mayor of Kingstown.
Mayor of Kingstown, streaming November 14th on Paramount Plus. Go to ParamountPlus.com to try it for free.
Lowe's Provember event is back, and we're thanking pros like you all month long. So when you become a Pro Loyalty member, now through November 24th, you'll get a welcome kit via mail, Lowe's bucket included. It's all part of Provember, going on online and in stores. Lowe's, the new home for pros. New accounts only. More terms and conditions apply while supplies last. Visit Lowe's.com/ProLoyalty for details. U.S. only.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
1, 2, 3, 4. Delta spawn. Damn, we thought this crap was gone. Could it be we're heading back to quarantine? Now the governors of red states have gone and outlawed mask mandates. Seems to me the GOP wants us to die, including kids. I'm sure glad I got my full vaccine.
Get vaccinated, you dummies.
That's Steve Goody with Delta Spawn from his album What I Did During My Pandemic Vacation. And Senator Dan Katowski joins me right now. He's the CEO of Kids Above All. And Senator, you didn't realize I now have in-house musicians. I'm very excited to announce.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It sounds like people are very talented, lyrically and otherwise.
Oh, but he's got so much great music. Senator, I miss you, and I'm sorry that you couldn't join us in the studio today, but I completely understand that you're busy, and you are in these last days of preparing for this incredible event on Wednesday, this incredible gala. First of all, do you say gala or gala?
It's whatever you want to say. I tell her to follow your lead. I say gala because it's Chicago, the way that Chicago was raised. But it's just the it's the short
exactly. Gala.
Get her a gala. I'm going to talk to that guy about that thing
over by there.
To the gala. There's some fun with some people.
Did you
helping kids out?
Yes. Did you grow up saying a fin and a sawbuck? Because my dad did. Half a sawbuck.
What?
A fin, a sawbuck.
Sure, of course. Yeah. I'm not from the early 1920s, but yeah, that's what we said. We
yes.
Say the fin and the sawbuck.
Yep. My dad would always say that. He goes, you need a fin, you need a sawbuck. How much money you need, kid? That's what he'd always say to me.
Yeah.
He was like from a Jimmy Cagney movie or something.
We had the community. I used to walk up 3 flights of stairs too, and walk 5 miles to school in a snowstorm. All that other stuff.
All that stuff.
That's all true.
Well, look, you.
How are you?
I'm good, and to that, talking about your dad and of course both of your parents raised an incredible. Well, all of the Katowski kids are great. We're talking today about Kids Above All, an organization that helps kids reach their potential, in particular those who are in vulnerable situations. Tell us a little bit more about the work that you guys do.
Yeah, thank you, Patty. And this is our mission is to make sure that kids who've suffered through trauma due to poverty, violence, and systemic injustice have a chance to realize their full potential and become independent adults who lead productive, meaningful lives. And we do that through early childhood education, foster care and adoption, and housing for homeless teenagers and young adults. So we impact about 2,588 kids and families each year, to be exact. But the key to this is, we believe that every child, regardless of what you look like, where you come from, that every child deserves the same opportunity to realize their full potential. So our programs are all about that. And our gala that we're having on Wednesday is a chance to raise awareness and resources and funds to make sure that we're able to realize that mission, right? And Kids Above All is about placing the safety, well-being, and education of kids above everything else. And the gala is an opportunity to secure funds in order to realize the mission, making sure kids have a chance to have the best life possible despite challenges related to living in poverty or dealing with injustice or the fact that they've suffered the trauma due to the loss of a loved one to violence. So this is a great opportunity for people to get involved in an organization that's been doing this kind of work since about 1895. Predates me. I'm not as old as some of the way in which I speak and communicate, Finn and Starbucks, but it's a great chance of getting involved. And I hope your listeners are thinking, the question that people ask is I think it's a great test, and it's something that is brought up from my good friend, Senator Christina Patti Gonzalez, and she would say, and look at the Erickson Institute, and how are the children? There's a greeting, and how are the children? And I think it's a question a society is judged based on how are the children. And I think the children that we see in our country, in our state, in our communities, in the city, children are struggling, right? Children are struggling because there's a lot of challenges regarding violence in our city, in our communities. Kids have witnessed a lot. They've experienced a lot. They've dealt with a lot of trauma. We need to make sure that we do a better job of protecting them. We need to make sure that we're creating opportunities that they can not only be safe, but opportunities to be able to live a life where they can be successful. And if they've endured witnessing, experiencing something horrific, they have a chance to begin the process of healing. So a lot of what we do is helping kids to kind of tell their own story, right? To basically embrace the truth of their lives and be able to communicate that in a safe way, in a way which supports them, and then a way in which they begin to heal. And I think that's really, really key in our country, because when you ask how are kids doing right now, a lot of kids are struggling with mental health, a lot of kids are struggling with poverty, a lot of kids are struggling with inequity, and it's up to us, as a state, city, a country, to really step up and stand up for them, and that's what Kids Above All is all about.
I have worked with many organizations throughout my career. I've been a stand-up comic and an advocate for about 27 years, and a couple things have jumped out for me, having worked with you with all kids, is, first of all, the programs that you have. You guys are incredibly, not only nimble, and by that I mean you find different ways to approach this. I know that you have taught, as you mentioned, finding ways to process the trauma. You find creative outlets, because we don't often think of that. You have done, whether it's writing workshops, and you've brought me in to talk about, whether it's dealing with humor and my own personal experiences with homicide in my family, and talking to young people who, even the therapists that were at that weekend event said that none of the kids had told them about how they became the targets of bullies until I mentioned that I had been bullied because of the way my brother was murdered, and it was remarkable. And so you are open to finding those avenues, those moments of possibility. And to that, you also have a support crew that stays with you, and that plays a big part of that. What other ways? I know financially, we're talking about the gala, and we'll get to that next. But what other ways can people support this kind of work that you're doing?
Well, I'm glad you brought it up, because there's a lot of different ways that people can get involved. They can get involved as a mentor. They can get involved as a tutor for kids. They can get involved in participating in that event that we have. We have ways in which you can volunteer and work at the group homes that we have for kids, where you can come, you could paint, you could landscape, you could help to power wash, and there's a lot of things that you can do to provide support for kids and for families. We encourage people to consider being foster parents. A lot of these kids just need someone to step in and step up for them because of what they've gone through and what they've struggled with in their lives. And it's sad. In many cases, 90% of them don't have a relationship with a biological parent. 50% have a relationship with a biological family member. And this is, one of the ways in which people are listening today is getting involved and getting engaged in that way. I mean, our kids need all the help that they can get. Think about your own children and what you would do for your own children, how you move heaven and earth, and who you get involved in order to make sure your child is going to be successful, or get the support they need so that they can be happy and fulfilled and have a life of meaning. Now, I was just telling someone today, it's like, you think, like you said, we have a lot of different programs. We're working with kids from early childhood, for the time in which they are in their mother's womb, right? The time in which they're ready to be born. We have a doula program, which makes sure that we're helping parents when they're going through childbirth, and making sure they're ready to best support their child when he or she is born, to make sure that they're talking to them, that they're interacting with them, that the kids are growing and developing, and the kids who are grown, young adults, and making sure they have a housing and a safe place to live, and case management, therapeutic support. And people say, "Wow, why aren't you just working with kids when they're young, and when we can better mold and shape them?" Like, look, kids are kids, and there are kids who are parents are unfortunately involved in their lives, or they're homeless, they're on the street, and they're still kids. They're still 18, 19, 20. My son's 21 years old. I was just talking about this today. He's trying to get an apartment for next year. He goes to college, and who's the guarantor on his lease? I am.
Right.
Because I'm his parent. Because he doesn't have a credit history, right, to that. But I'm the guarantor. That's what parents do. We do that kind of work. We do that kind of. We provide that type of support, and that's what people need to be thinking about. Like when they say, "How are kids doing?" or "How is it that kids can be like this?" Like, well, the better question is, what can I do to make it better, right? I mean, because you can go back in time or go back in history, like, well, what caused this and what caused that? I'm going to tell you, our kids need help. They need support. They need people to step up. As I talk about mentoring, tutoring, being involved as a foster parent, or getting involved in our holiday toy drive. For our holiday toy drive, we collect something to play with, something to learn from, and something to snuggle. We have our back-to-school backpack drive where people donate backpacks and school supplies, so a kid who doesn't have those type of supplies isn't sticking out like a sore thumb when he or she begins school, right? And so there's a lot of things that people can do. And just our gala coming up is yet another one on November 10th on this Wednesday. It's a virtual gala. And so, you can watch it from the comfort of your own home. And it's a great hour-long program. And we're going to have one of our former clients. His name is Johnny Rivers. He was in our program. We have Emerge for young people who are homeless. Well, he was homeless. He was living couch to couch. His mother had passed away, and he just got involved in our program. And next thing you know, he had a place to live, and he was able to get the kind of support he needed. And then he got a job, and now he's able to take care of himself, and he's living on his own. And he's our host this year. He's a wonderful young man. He's been through a lot. He's incredibly resilient, very smart, very hardworking. And I think people have a lot of times they have images of kids and like, what brought them to be homeless? Or like, how did they bring it upon themselves?
Right.
He was in college. In college, his mother passed away. He didn't have a support system. But while he was homeless, while he was trying to get housing, he was working. And then when he got housing, he was working 3 different jobs. 3 different jobs. Wow. As a 22-year-old. 3 different jobs. And now he's got a full-time job. He's able to take care of himself and his family, and he comes back each year, and he's the host of our gala, and for the 3rd year in a row.
Was he the young man who builds? Is he the young man who builds sets?
Yes, he builds sets, and he's a producer. And
what?
He's someone who sings. Yeah, he's a producer, produces music, and he's someone who's he's put out an album and of his own music. Yeah, he's super, super talented. And it's just, it's great to see. And then we're also honoring a young woman. Her name is Sophia Gonzalez, whose father, sadly, was shot and killed in her home when she was a child. And while she and her mom were there, an intruder came in and unfortunately murdered her father. Sophia has been a part of our Camp Sheila program where you spoke to our young people. She's been a part of that camp. She's come back as a leader. She was in that camp as a way for her to talk to other kids about, what her challenges were and what she struggled with, and best kind of have a support system of people who've gone through the same thing. It's so sad how many kids have lost someone that they loved to homicide. It is so sad. But to have a place where you can get that kind of comfort, where you get that support, and you can recapture, redefine your story, because you're not defined by something that happened to you or happened to your family, right? You can take that and you can figure out a way to turn something that's terribly awful into something that hopefully that's positive for yourself and others. And what Sophia is doing is she's studying how to get this involved in social services, because she knows the impact that she can have on people's lives, because she was at that camp that we had, and she shared her story. She saw the impact it not only had on her, but on other people, and being able to be in that place, that safe place, where people could listen to you. So we need to do that for our kids. We need to figure out a way where we're stepping up, we're standing up, we're listening to them, we're hearing them. Like, look, I mean, when you think of our country and what we had growing up in our city, there's so many kids who witnessed horrific crime and violence, and living in places where they're struggling with poverty and violence and systemic inequities. They don't have the same level of care and support, same level of education, same level of health care, same kind of housing, right? And so this is, what we need to figure out. Like, what's our charge, right? What are we going to do when somebody asks you, how are the kids doing? Well, my kids are doing okay. Yeah, but how are the kids doing who are really struggling, who are really suffering, who really need the kind of help and support? And what can we do to help ease that suffering? What can we do to help open up doors for them so they have better lives? Because if we don't do something for them, sadly, what's going to end up for them is they're going to be struggling with lives of depression and being disconnected from other people and not having the chance, the opportunities to be as successful as others. And it's just a real simple thing that it requires for people. Just you can get online to kidsaboveall.org. kidsaboveall.org. You can get involved. You can volunteer. Find out about an organization. Get engaged. Be someone who figures out a way to step up for kids the same way you do for your own family member, your own child, your own niece, nephew, grandson, granddaughter, whatever. But just figure out a way to step up.
I'm so grateful for that information. Again, that's kidsaboveall.org this Wednesday, November 10th. What time does it start?
6:30 is kind of like the opening, where it's just kind of like there's music and all that other stuff. But the program starts in earnest at 7 o'clock. It's from 7 to 8. It's just an hour. It's a great production. It really illustrates and underscores, the resilience of the young people that we work with, but also underlines the importance of getting involved to make sure that we're helping kids to realize their full potential so they can have the best life possible.
I truly love the work that you do and the way in which people can come together and support the kids in our communities. Can you hold on? I would love to hold you on for another segment. Do you mind? It'll just be a quick one, I promise, because we're done at 6, so it can't be much longer. All right, we're talking to Senator Dan Katowski, the CEO of Kids Above All. Their gala is this Wednesday. It's a virtual gala. The site opens at 6:30, and the event will run from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Again, that's kidsaboveall.org. And we'll continue this conversation when we come back on Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez on WCPT 820.
If you don't have final expense insurance, this message is for you. Life Care provides valuable whole life insurance to help cover final expenses, medical bills, burial costs, and unpaid debt. A final expense insurance policy is fast, easy, affordable life insurance, available to anyone between the ages of 50 and 80. No medical exams, no lengthy questionnaires, and no waiting period. Call Life Care at 800-956-0683. 800-956-0683.
Marcus by Goldman Sachs offers personal loans with no fees, ever. Banks offer coffee. So what's more important? A Marcus by Goldman Sachs loan with no fees that could help consolidate debt, or bank coffee that tastes like bank coffee. You can money. Visit Marcus.com to learn more about saving, borrowing, and investing from Marcus by Goldman Sachs.
Investing involves risk and investments may lose value. Brokerage and investment advisory services by Goldman Sachs & Company, LLC. Member FINRA SIPC. Lending and deposits products provided by Goldman Sachs Bank USA. Member FDIC.
If you're like most people, you're probably more than a little concerned about the state of the world around us today. Strange times. The stock market all-time highs every day. U.S. debt never been higher right now. Dollars losing value. And let's not forget about inflation, the highest since 2008. Remember what happened in 2008. So, how do you protect your money, your retirement, your savings? Well, many people, just like you, are turning to Old Faithful to protect themselves during these difficult times. And Old Faithful is real gold and silver from the Oxford Gold Group, the kind you can actually hold in your hands and have in your IRA. No better time than the present to protect your future and the future of your family. Call the Oxford Gold Group right now, 833-928-GOLD. They will send you their free guide on investing in gold and silver and answer all of your questions. Protect your money before things get even worse out there. Call the Oxford Gold Group today at 833-928-GOLD. Oxford is here to help you protect your savings and retirement. That's 833-928-GOLD.
On January 6th, 2021, followers of Trump and something called QAnon attempted a coup at the United States Capitol. Who are these people? I want to live with the QAnon girl. I could be happy the rest of my life with a QAnon girl. Believer of theory, she leans to the right. She never gets weary of being gullible and white. She's my QAnon girl.
Senator Katowski, again, that's Steve Goody from the album What I Did During My Pandemic Vacation. You can go to stevegoody.com. That's Goodie. Senator, I was telling Senator Dan Katowski offline that Steve Goody has this collection of songs. So that was one of them, Senator. That's a thing that when we were talking about Kids Above All, and I came in and worked with some of the kids, both in one of the couple of the homes and then at the Camp Sheila, I talked about how I use humor to process trauma, and that's a lot of what Steve Goody has done over the last year. I just want to touch on something that I've had the honor of being the MC for your galas in the past, and I've done this for a long time. You, without any sort of trying to lay this on thick, you always have the best events that I've ever, whether it was at the Art Institute or that, I don't know what that warehouse, like industrial looking place was, or everything that you do is top notch, and you have just an incredible turnout for this. How do you supplement that now that you're doing this online? Because you still have that energy and urgency from your contributors, don't you?
Sure. I think it's just a matter of just reaching out and talking to people directly and having conversations with them, and just making sure that they know what's going on. I mean, we've people who thankfully have been very involved and engaged in our efforts, and they're supportive. And it helps to have a group of people who are very supportive. Last year, we can go back to them and say, we're doing this event. It's virtual, but here's the thing about a virtual event. It's about a third of the money to put on a virtual event.
Yeah.
So people appreciate the fact that we're being nimble. They appreciate that making decisions are cost effective, and more money goes towards kids and families than in the other situation where you can have it in person. And in person brings its own set of benefits, but there's a real benefit. People appreciate the fact that we recognize there's still challenges with COVID. There's still people who may not be immunized, and having a room full of people who are wearing masks, or some people who may not have made the decision to be immunized yet, could create a potential problem, just on the off chance that they were contagious, which would ultimately, last thing we're going to have in our hands is a lot of people who get sick because of that. And the reality is we're in the business of building better lives and figuring out ways in which we can place the safety, well-being, and education of kids above everything else. And the best way we can do that is by making sure that we are ensuring that the people who are doing the work and people participating, they're as healthy and secure and safe as they possibly can be, so they can continue to be involved. I mean, we're all in this together in terms of working on what we're going to do with COVID, and we've all had to make decisions and sacrifices for the betterment of our family and those we love, and that's what we're doing. We're just making a decision right now that we feel is best, and we can keep people safe, secure as possible, and by that same token, raise as much awareness and resources as possible so we can realize our mission as an organization. And Kids Above All, we're real serious about that. And the good news is it looks really, really positive for this Wednesday. We're already about $100,000 ahead of pace from the year before. And that's just because I think one of the things I was talking to you about earlier is there's a lot of people out there, the vast majority of people out there, who are very generous, very supportive, very kind, and very engaged, and they just want to leave the world better than they found it. That's what they want, right? So we think a lot of people get pressed right now, and there's a fair amount of bad things in this world, and there's no denying that, but there is a tremendous amount of people who step up each and every day, our team included, who are doing their best for kids and families. And there are families out there who are struggling, but they're resilient, and they're trying to make the best out of it. And they're wonderful people, and they're trying to achieve positive results for their kids so that they can have a good quality of life. So there's a lot of good that's out there, and I think people see that, and they recognize that, and they want to be involved, and they're getting involved. So that's what's really exciting about what's happening on Wednesday. But we have a lot of positive things to celebrate. While the challenges are enormous, we have people who've been successful. They've kept working. They're extraordinarily persistent, and they've overcome a lot to achieve results. And then we have people who and it depends on how you measure success, you measure progress. For some person, one person's success is going to college. Another person's success is graduating high school and getting a job, right? Another person's success is being able to, after enduring a horrific amount of abuse and neglect in their lives, they're able to have positive, high-functioning relationships with others, right? So we have to figure out the way in which we look at the kids and families and what they've dealt with, and how are we measuring impact, how are we measuring outcomes and success. Well, like I said, we have a lot to celebrate in terms of growth, in terms of accomplishments. And for us, one of our programs I've talked to you about is how do you help kids who've suffered tremendous amount of trauma to begin to heal. And through our programs for creative writing and art therapy and adventure therapy, and that means outdoor related therapy and climbing ropes and all that other stuff, and mindfulness, we have fewer kids who've been hospitalized, due to mental health challenges, fewer kids who are on run, fewer kids who are self-harming, and that's positive, right? And these are things I want, and I encourage people to be thinking about as it relates to kids. Sometimes the standard that we place upon this is like, oh, if a kid's didn't go to Princeton, therefore he isn't successful, or didn't get a 4-year degree to get a master's degree, they're not successful. But when if a kid has gone from a completely horrific situation to being able to be adopted or in a loving foster home, and then they're able to go to high school, and they graduate high school, and maybe they decide to go to community college, and they go there for a couple of years, and then they figure out, okay, maybe I'll go to college, or I'm going to decide to get a job, and I get a full-time job, and I'm able to take care of my family. Remember what I said earlier. Our goal is to make sure that the kids in our programs become independent adults who lead meaningful, productive lives, right?
Outstanding.
Independent adults. That's what it's all about.
It's incredible work. Again, everyone go to kidsabovall.org. The event is this Wednesday. The online event opens at 6:30. It will go from 7 to 8. I'll be there and looking forward to seeing everyone, Senator, to the best of our ability. And I look forward to having you in studio sometime soon, okay?
I look forward to it, too. Thank you so much, Patty.
Thank you, Senator.
Have a great time.
You as well.
Take care.
You too. One of my favorite guests. I'm sorry I couldn't get to your call, Brian, but I'm going to pick up the phone and talk to you off the air. And thank you, everyone. Have a great evening. Hope you watch the sunset. We'll see you again tomorrow. And the Rick Unger Show is up next. Thank you, Lady B, and everybody here at WCPT.
Marcus by Goldman Sachs offers personal loans with no fees, ever. Banks offer coffee. So what's more important? A Marcus by Goldman Sachs loan with no fees that